Okay, I'm here today with a gentleman named Tony who has been, shown to me by somebody, by a mutual friend. He's a heck of a traveler, probably one of the most intrepid travelers I've ever come across, who's on a mission to see pretty much every country in the world. And Tony's a little bit different than you and me. Tony has issues with his eyesight, and imagine most people have difficulty traveling as it is, but imagine throwing that difficult challenge in the mix, and imagine overcoming that and being able to achieve such amazing things, which very few of us ever get to do. So it really is a pleasure to talk to you. How are you today?
Oh, hi, Gabrielle. I'm fine. Yeah, I'm good. Just come home from a 3-month trip in northern and eastern Africa, and I'm sat here on my couch in the UK, southwest England.
I'm sure that feels really good because I know having gone to Africa many times in my life, so those are rough journeys sometimes.
Yeah, it's a little cooler here now than it was in East Africa. Yeah, it's quite humid. So
I'm
I,
sure. I'm
I
sure.
come,
So explain to people how it is that you're able to travel, and what assists you to be able to to navigate, and who are your eyes, who helps
yeah.
you with your ears, and who helps you get through from point to point.
So my name's Tony Giles, Giles. I'm 40 years old at the moment. I was born with a rare eye condition. I'm totally blind now. I can sense sunlight. And as a child, the first 3 years, I couldn't see anything, couldn't open my eyes. But once I was given dark glasses about the age of 3 years old, I could then open my eyes and I could see sunlight and house lights and play in the street. And I could also read and write from about the age of 5 onwards with very large black letters on white paper. I've never seen any colour. And I also went partially deaf when I was 4 years old or 5 years old. And they're both nerve damage. They could be related, but they don't know. So anyway, I got sent to schooling, specialist schooling. And I went to a boarding school about 300 miles from my home when I was 10. So I learned Braille, the dots that blind people used to read and write. I learned to use a computer and touch type. I learned mobility, which is the most important thing. So how to get around using a long white cane. And I learned to cross streets and go up and down steps and how to cross roads safely, and eventually how to communicate with the public and catch buses and trains home. And then when I was 16 years old, I got the chance to go to Boston in the US with my school for a week. And that was totally different. I loved that, and different accents, different people, different food and sounds and smells. Everything was much bigger. Right, I like that. So I want to go back to the States and experience more of it. So when I was 20, a friend of mine who's got sight in one eye, we went and traveled. And then I eventually got to study there. I did American Studies degree and spent 5 months in South Carolina in Myrtle Beach in 2000. And all my friends went to Florida for spring break, and I thought they're not going to let me drink and party. I was 21 years old and young, crazy males. I thought I'll go to New Orleans by myself. And I knew bars, I knew I could book a flight. And I'd been hosteling and traveling around the UK for 5 or 6 years. So I knew how to do the basics. I booked a hostel as a shared accommodation, and then flew to New Orleans, got a taxi to the hostel, and then just got directions for Bourbon Street. And I go down the steps, turn left, walk 2 or 3 blocks, find a tram, and that's it. And it was like 30 degrees, it was like 90 Fahrenheit and nearly 100 humidity. And I sort of got on the street and I sort of had a quick moment of panic, and I thought, oh, I can't do this. I'm blind in a foreign city. And took a few deep breaths. And then I said to myself, well, Tony, this is what you want. This is the challenge. If you don't want it, go home. So took another deep breath, turned left, walked up the street, asked someone where the tram was for Bourbon Street. Someone helped me on. Someone helped me off the other end. And the rest is history. I had an absolute blast in New Orleans. Spent a week drunk, as you do, as a young guy. I learned about your family, and then and then never looked back. And then I met an Australian girl that was studying in the States, and we went to California and created chaos and mayhem. And then eventually ended up in San Diego by myself, and then Hawaii. And then it was during that trip that I realized that I could travel by myself. I didn't need help or constant help. I didn't need a companion or someone to guide me all the time. I could just ask the public, and people would help me, or they'd find someone else to help me. And I realized this is what I like doing. And just started from there, and then it sort of slowly snowballed. I traveled Australia and New Zealand, so they were quite easy because it's countries I could speak the language and I knew the infrastructure, and I'd learned about Australia and New Zealand through listening to sport on the radio and growing up. So I went to the main cities and then I just asked people in the hostel, the staff, I'm going to this city, can you help me book my next hostel? And people did. And people helped me do crazy things like skydiving out of an airplane and dropping into the middle of nothing, hoping that the guy with you is going to remember to pull the parachute.
Yeah. I've done that too, and I can see, and it's equally as
I loved it.
It's terrifying. I can tell you have to have that trust, right? That extreme trust.
Yeah, I published a couple of books. I wrote one. My mum said you should write a book about what you travel, so my friends can see what you do. So I described my first bungee jump and standing on a bridge in New Zealand in the middle of nowhere, 2 people and a dog watching. And 2 instructors said, "Oh, you ever seen a blind guy bungee before?" I said, "No, why not?" So there I am in the middle of nowhere, 240 feet in the air, and Tony, you walk forward, we tap you 3 times and you fall forward and just dropped into nothing. And then eventually 40 seconds later, first bounce, my whole body sort of explodes. It's a bit like running to a wall. I thought, oh, wow, fantastic. Woo.
That initial shock that you'll never forget that sensation no matter what.
And I've done 17 more since, but I'm slightly crazy. But I always say to people, I got an advantage because I can't see the bottom.
Exactly. And you can't, you just have to just trust.
Yeah. I guess I'm to trust in people from a young age, I suppose. So I don't know. It's just what I do. Yeah. And then I traveled more and more. And then I realized in 2009, I had a kidney transplant. My stepdad gave me a kidney and I was able to travel again. That was the most amazing thing. And then I met my partner who's Greece and also blind. And we travel together now sometimes. And I realized I want to visit every country in the world. That was my life goal. That's what I wanted to do. And publish more books and just describe people and show people that they can do anything they want to. They don't have to travel around the world like me, but they can make a cup of coffee or they could go out their door and walk up the street, whether they're physically disabled or mentally disabled or just dealing with, the rubbish that life throws at them. So that's what my story is.
I mean, no matter what people are dealing with, different things, depression can hold somebody back, not necessarily a physical ailment, And I think what your story does, to me at least, and I think it really speaks to the kindness of strangers, because imagine, you're roaming around and you have to have, like you said, that trust factor and know that somebody's going to guide you the right way, because you don't necessarily know. And I think it's so nice to hear that, because a lot of us, I think, are fearful and distrustful, especially when we travel. And there's reason to be, you have to be on your guard, but it sounds like you've really had a lot of help along the way from people you don't know. Am I right?
Yeah. The kindness and generosity I've had shown to me around the world from complete strangers, people who can't speak English, it's just staggering. I've had people take me home, cook me meals, drive me to bus stations and train stations, airports, etc. I've even had strangers give me money because I had stuck without a credit card for a week. All kinds of, And you watch the TV and you read the news and you think, oh, the world's a terrible place. I'm not going to go anywhere. It's so dangerous. And you actually go out to these countries and ignore the news and meet the real people, not just the politicians or the, people that, local people who don't have a lot of money and don't have a lot of physical infrastructure. And you realize they're just kind and simple. And most people just want to put a meal on the table for their family and a roof over their head. Don't ask for much more,
and just to get by. Yeah. So what do you pick up most from your travels? Is it, I'm getting that it's of the conversations and the connections to the community. But what else do you look for in a journey? Is it food? Is it, are you looking for music experiences? What makes a destination resonate with you, being that you aren't able to visually take it in?
Yeah.
What
I guess
differentiates one to another?
I guess it's a whole range of things. When I first started traveling, it was just about escapism. I was young, and it was about partying and getting away from responsibility and finding myself, really. And then as I've grown and I've become more mature and I've changed, travels for me has changed. I'm still looking for the adventure and the adrenaline and that moment of magic when I reach an amazing waterfall or a unique place of peace for me, which is with no people around, so early in the morning and just nature. But yeah, it's about people, it's about food, it's new food and different cultures, different music, different culture and the way people live differently and how they tackle or resolve their issues and their problems on a day-to-day basis. Because we can all go to countries and sit on a beach or whatever and look at the mountain, but at the end of the day, without people, you don't really have a culture or a country. That's what I'm interested in.
No, I love what you said. And tell us a little bit about what you've written so far.
So I've written and published two ebooks. One's called "Seeing the World My Way." That's why a blind person would want to go and see the world. It's about the smells and the sounds, the people I eat, the quite a lot of drinking and adrenaline sort of stuff. And that's sort of my early journeys. I start in the States with the school and then going there with a friend and then studying. And then the second part of the book, sort of wandering around Australia and New Zealand. Then I eventually sort of go to third world countries like Vietnam and Thailand, which is a slightly different way of traveling. I have to rely on people much more. So that's the first book. And then I published the second ebook called Seeing the Americas My Way. And that's about a trip I did in 2004, America. I sort of wander through Brazil, Argentina, Chile, go up through the States again and to Mexico a little bit, Cuba, and then eventually go across Canada. And that's a book I wrote about more of an emotional adventure. I got my heart broken by someone, so that's how I resolved that. And also I sort of stopped drinking by then, so it's more sober take on
So you
travel,
felt it more, yeah.
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 There's still a few adventurous activities in it, but it's slightly different. So. Yeah, then I'm planning a third one at the moment. I've written a book about my first trips to Africa, which I did 2004-5, Southern Africa. So hopefully that will be published. I'll be online in December time, hopefully. September, October time. So, yeah.
Oh, that's amazing. So how many countries have you visited in total?
So it depends. The United Nations have a list of countries, what they consider a country. The sovereign country is 193, and out of those countries, I've visited 122 now. I've visited all 7 continents, including Antarctica.
What? Okay, how did that happen? Tell us a little bit about that. How was that?
You take a cruise, basically. So you
Yeah.
take a cruise from New Zealand or from Argentina, Chile, which is the closest. There's a little city called Ushuaia in the bottom of Argentina. They say it's the 7th most city in the world, so you get cruises from there. You can do 9 days or more. Basically, whatever cruise you do, you go the same way there and back. And then once you get down there to Antarctica, you get on little inflatable boats and they ferry you off to different islands and they make a couple of continental landings. And you visit scientific stations and historical sites. I touch whale bones, washed up and glaciers, icebergs. I even heard a whale blow, which was quite incredible.
Wow.
Went next to the ship, went, yeah, I hear it. So, yeah, but I've also got my own list of some. I consider some places that the UN doesn't consider countries, like Greenland and the Faroe Islands, Falkland Islands. So, I've 100 countries to do, I suppose.
That's incredible. And what has been the most impactful experience you've had?
I mean, New Zealand's the best country I've been to. I think it reminds me of the UK. The weather's
A lot of people say that about New Zealand, yeah.
It's similar. I think probably the most incredible travel experience is probably getting to Antarctica and stepping on the frozen continent, but also traveling through Papua New Guinea, in Oceania, so it's attached to Indonesia. It's basically 1,000 miles north of Australia. But it's fairly remote country, there's not much infrastructure. I had to travel across the sea in a canoe, and
quite an isolated place from what I hear, sort of like another universe, like not even another world, just another universe. I've heard it described.
I was on a 4x4 Jeep, and we got stuck in the mud for 3 hours. I had to go up into the mountains, and I was walking over mudslides and crossing water with help. So, yeah, it's pretty remote, pretty difficult to travel, but very, very rewarding. So that's got to be up there, I think. And Iceland as well. I really like Iceland. Again, it's quite rugged, quite isolated, and friendly people. I think it's only 300,000. I think it's only 30,000 population, so it's pretty small.
It's a small place, in a lot of ways, but it packs a big punch, huh? for a small little country.
But it's sort of rugged, and I hiked up half a volcano and went to lots of waterfalls. That's what I like, water. Anything I can hear. I like the ocean. I live by the sea. Got a 3-minute walk to the beach. Waterfalls, statues. If you can find statues to touch, or different people or animals or anything. And I like trekking. I like different kinds of things.
It just sounds like you get so much out of a journey, and it's amazing because I'm myself in the travel business, and I'm all over the place. But I think so many people, unfortunately, I come across are just they don't feel like they can do it, and they have all the resources that they're at their disposal. Either they're afraid, or they're just not sure about other cultures, or they think everything is a big deal. And it's so nice and refreshing to talk to you because you just get up and make it happen. Like it doesn't sound like much could stop you when you have an idea.
No, I think you get out of it what you put in it. You got to prepare to meet people halfway, and if you're willing to be flexible and have a go and tell them what you can do, what you can't do, and go from there. Really, you get some countries will be more difficult. The Italians are not the greatest. They're not the easiest people to sort of say, "Can I do this?" They just want to say no. And, I found Russia's difficult because of the language barrier, but again, people are very helpful. I've not been to yet, so I don't know what that would be like, but just got to give it a go, really. And, you can do anything. If you want to travel to any country, you can. You don't have to travel alone. Find someone you connect with and go with them. Just try it. Just go for a weekend, a different city, and give it a go.
I fully agree. So where are you headed next after your little rest you came? Where are you going next?
I got a couple of weeks off, and then my girlfriend and I are going to Canada for 6 weeks.
Okay.
I've been several times before, but she's not been, so she got some friends there in Toronto, and so we're going to we're going to obviously some of the main cities like Toronto, Montreal, but also going to a couple of smaller places. So we're going up to we're going to Newfoundland and Labrador, and then we're going across to Winnipeg, and we're going probably as far north as Yellowknife. Some people might know that. That's quite far. It's north of Edmonton. And then we cross into the States for 4th of July and be in Seattle with friends. So, and then I got the summer off, and then we start again in September. My girlfriend
Incredible.
October.
Incredible. So where can people learn more about you? Or do you have a website that, you're kind of keeping updated?
I've got a website called TonyTheTraveler.com. Traveler was spelt with 2 L's, the English way. And I got Facebook, Tony the Traveler, Facebook. I've also got a YouTube channel. Search for Tony Giles, Giles. So, yeah, I'm all over it.
That's amazing. Well, thank you so much for sharing just a small part of your journey, your lifetime journey and your actual journeys. It's incredibly refreshing, inspiring, and my only hope is that people hear this and don't hold back anymore and go ahead and book that ticket or figure out what their dream is and actually go out and do it because you made things happen.
Yeah, we only live once, so get on and do it. Yeah.
I love it. Well, thank you for joining me today, and we look so forward to keeping up with your travels.
Thanks a lot. Thanks for having me.
Sure.